So using that as a segue, you went originally for a food hamper and you found Healthy Beginnings. Are there other parts of the stop before we're going to get civic engagement in a minute, but before civic engagement, were there other parts of the stop that were important to you or that made you feel welcome and engaged there?
So one of the other things that kind of caught me was, I talk about the drop-in, and the stop has like flags from all around the world in the drop-in, and I don't know, Nick, how you guys came up with that.
Was there a St. Lucia flag?
Oh yeah, there was. And I was just like, oh my God, my flag. That means there's other people from St. Lucia here, and kind of like made it. So I started a whole conversation with the drop-in coordinator around my flag and explained my flag, and then found out, because we had Gomo, that he was from Dominica, and we actually spoke the same language. So it was really interesting for me to find someone who spoke my language that was not from my country, because I've never met somebody from Dominica before. Like, everybody who spoke my language was from St. Lucia. So that was interesting. Like, and he kind of pushed me to kind of come to the drop-in. And he's like, oh, come, sit down and have a meal. And we sat together. He literally sat with me. And then we started talking. And we started conversing in our language. And everybody was looking at us like, what are you guys? And I'm like, yeah, we speak Creole. And they're like, what is that? And like had the whole, because I'm like very attached to my culture and my cultural identity. And because that's who I am, right? I've changed a lot in the past couple of years, but I always take that with me when I go. So there was, it just like, I think the difference of the stop was that there was so many options. It wasn't just the food bank. It was the food bank. It was Healthy Beginnings. It was the people. It was the space. Then we talked about gardening. And so I give the joke, I think I gave the joke yesterday or to somebody in the crowd about getting a can of chickpeas and didn't know what the hell that was. Kind of like, what is this? How do I cook this? And
is
like
it chicken?
Yeah, I had no idea. And
peas?
Peas in a can. What do I do with that kind of thing? Like, so then, and then it leads to being able to cook together as a group, and then like talking about, yes, there is something called chickpeas, and you can do so many things with it, and it actually tasted pretty good.
Yeah. So, I am fascinated by the variety of food-related activities at the stop, and share the feeling that food can be a powerful organizer in low-income communities. But of all the activities in the stop, the one that called to me most was the civic engagement. And I'd love for you to tell how you got involved in civic engagement and how civic engagement changed you.
So that's a funny story, because we were cooking. So I had my baby. I went for the struggles of being pregnant and having to leave my partner and having my daughter alone on top of my two boys and moving to a neighborhood that I didn't know. So I keep going back to the stop because that was my only thing I had left. Because I was fairly new to Canada. I had a sister who had gotten deported, so it was just me and my partner and my kids. And when that kind of fell apart, I didn't have anything but the stop. And I was really lucky, and I say to people all the time, I was really, really lucky that I found the stop. And it was able to provide me with that external family. Because family, and I say to people all the time, family isn't blood. Family is like who you identify with, the people that make you feel safe, the people you can have a conversation with. So we're in the kitchen making baby food and talking, and I'm very vocal when it comes to food. I love food. I love, love, love food. So I'm standing there and talking, and the interesting thing about it is when people get together and they start to cook, you talk. You talk about any and everything, and you don't even realize it, and you're like, oh, how did we get there? And okay, let's take it back. And then, so we were talking, and I was just like, you know, I don't understand this country. And I talked about how we had this subject in high school called home ec, and I don't know about your curriculum here, and if you guys have that. And so I was talking about, they took me, like I left my partner, they gave me housing, and now I have an extra kid, and they gave me a little bit of money to pay my rent. I had no furnitures, absolutely nothing. And then just put me in this new place that I didn't know anybody. And I was just talking about how frustrated I was and how scared, and there was an issue in my building, and like how I just felt like the system is not designed properly. It's designed to make us fail, because as women, like, and I think we can't talk about injustice if we don't talk about violence against women and the things that it puts us in, like a deeper hole, and women get killed every day because there's not systems in place to support them if they do decide to live. And so I'm standing there cooking and like saying how frustrated I was, and Jonah, who at that time was the civic engagement coordinator, walks by. And I have to say, I never used to speak. I'm one of those people who like snake in the corner where nobody sees me, and then I just like sit in the shadows. And now I'm nothing like that. I'm like, I try not to talk when I go to like sessions and stuff, because I kind of just like, So he's walking by, and then he's hearing me talk about it, and he's like, oh, there's something you should come to this meeting. And I'm like, what? It's like, yeah, so this is what we do. We get people to talk about their experiences and try to create social change. And I'm like, what? Like, you do what? You can't do that in San Lucia, buddy. You go to jail, or like they do something with you. And then, so we had that conversation about like, can this really happen? And so I moved away from that kind of postnatal program where we learn to make baby food and where we learn to cook. And that program was really neat in the sense that our chef Josh at the time got us, and that's when I talk about community input. She didn't say we need to come and make this. She said, like the first session was, what do you want to make? Like, what do you think your kids will eat, right? And we talk about making baby food. We talk about what we wanted to cook. And I said, I want to learn how to cook chickpeas because I don't know how to cook chickpeas. And then I was really excited that the Stop Garden had callaloo. And I was like, we need to make people try callaloo. There's callaloo in Canada, like, you know, that kind of like, so we had like our cultural days where everybody from their country came up with their recipe. So we did a lot of neat things. So I kind of merged from that. My daughter got bigger. And then I got into civic engagement things where we started off with Speakers Bureau. And then I just became this like thing. Like I just became this new person that had evolved and was able to speak my mind. And like I always talk about the power of food, because I feel like it started off with food, and the power that people could, when you give someone an opportunity, like I feel if the Stop did not give me, if I had gone to the Stop the way it used to be, and I just take my food and never come back, I don't think I would be this vocal. I don't think I would be the person I am today. And I just feel like given, and we talk about like getting members to like have input in like what you do in your organization, because they're the people that you serve. Like I have this saying, and someone said it yesterday, nothing for me without me, which my son taught me that lesson a few years ago. And I think that's really, really important. If you want to create change, the people who you creating the change for need to be a part of that discussion. And we own it. I think we do tend to own it. And civic engagement was my outlet to see. And I say that I'm a butterfly because I kind of morphed into this thing. This person who was very vocal and very like, and made me realize that I could do it. So we had Speakers Bureau, we learned how to speak publicly, we brought our issues out, and I realized, so I must say at that time I went for postpartum, and I didn't know what that was. There's no such thing in St. Lucia. You wake up, you're sick, you shake it off, you go to work, you do whatever, and then I couldn't understand what was happening to me. And I said to Jonah, I don't know, I just feel this thing and I don't want to get up. And then he's like, oh, you know, you should talk to somebody about it. And then so we didn't even only get to talk about what we were going through, but we kind of got the supports we need to like navigate for our life and figure out what was going on with us so we could figure out what was going on with other people. And I said, you know what? I'm going to do this. I'm going to take my story and I'm going to say it to everybody who's going to listen. and I want to create change, and people are going to listen to me because I'm loud, like kind of thing, and like strength in numbers. So we went from Speakers Bureau, then we had community advocacy, which is my passion and still is my passion. And then we started off the Put Foot in the Budget campaign, and I kind of loved that and took it on and like got to do a lot of exciting things about that. I hope you talk about that point. And then
I don't have to say anything. What are you talking about?
so, and I kind of like, so I went back and this is what happened. So when you get an opportunity, I kind of never thought, I had never voted when I was in St. Lucia because I didn't believe in the system, and I just say they're gonna do whatever they wanted anyway. And the first time I voted was in Canada. That was the first thing I did when I became a citizen. It just so happened to be like, I became a citizen, the next year was the election year. I'm like, yes. And that was my first time I ever voted and became like, I just felt like I had this kind of power and I needed to share it. So I did a lot, and I got a lot of ways to do that at the stop through different things. Like we did a lot of different things. And it was a lot of community driven. Like we came together and we say, this is what we want to do. And so then we had bread and bricks, and we had like so many little different things going on to create social change and break the barrier of injustice and raise a minimum wage. And like, you know, I'm pretty sure I left out stuff, but you know.
But